We can introduce market forces into the way that governments operate to bring them in a more competitive, more open fashion, and hopefully, create a libertarian revolution at the local level.
Hi, I'm Ted Balaker with Reason TV, and today I'll be sitting down with Matt Harrison and Justin Hartfield of the Prometheus Institute. Harrison and Hartfield created the do-it-yourself democracy iPhone app, and Hartfield gave the world the Weed Maps app. The two are working on a new project that uses iPad technology to make classic libertarian books more interactive. Tell me a bit about the Prometheus Institute.
Well, our mission is to pioneer innovative technology to advance liberty. We think there's a need in the marketplace for tools that help people take the great ideas, the great studies, the great policy proposals that our movement is putting out and have the technological ability to put them into action.
And your big thing right now is the do-it-yourself democracy iPhone app. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Do-it-yourself democracy automatically locates you in your city and gives you a customized menu of action items to do everything from protest your taxes, to start a recall campaign, protest bureaucracy. Basically anything you can do to reduce the growth of government, we allow you to do.
How would someone in practice use your app to beat back government just a little bit?
So you're on your way to work and there's the construction that's taking up that lane, that's blocking your traffic, making it take an hour longer to get to work every single day. You know that the government is causing these kind of projects, that nothing's really getting done. It's kind of a shady bid process. You don't know really who's working on the project. You want transparency. So we give you action items not only to protest bureaucracy, but to demand transparency with the bids that are available in your city, so you can see what kind of budget your city is putting forth, what kind of taxes they're charging you, and really just giving you the information you need to be an advocate for liberty and to understand what it takes to reduce government in a practical sense.
So it's like basically a high-tech way to complain to government officials.
Exactly. Right now there's a few high-tech ways that you can ask government for things. What we'd like to do is give people the tools to actually reduce the growth of government, to take power back, to increase competition, to increase transparency, and there's nothing really out there in the technological platform that does that right now, so we're trying to fill that niche.
One of the things that I find interesting about the app is that it really does zero in on the person in whatever obscure layer of bureaucracy is responsible for that broken light or that pothole. Is that correct? I mean, if you're driving through Chino and you see a pothole, your app knows exactly whose responsibility that is?
Exactly. We actually had interns research the specific departments inside each of these small cities to find out which email address to send the emails to. So it took hundreds of hours of research to actually compile the data for California, because there's over 600 cities in California, and there's municipalities that run the water, some do the transportation. So it took a lot of research to do, but it really works really well when you're in a small city, because the person you're emailing, you probably know them on a first name basis. So it's kind of like an intimate connection with your representatives.
And that, who doesn't want an intimate relationship with their local government workers? So you must come across a lot of surprised government workers who thought like,
well, we actually think
how did you find me, right?
There is a little bit of resistance, but we think it works well because there's a personal connection between you who submits the question or submits the complaint and the person who's receiving it. So they get your email, they get a personal phone number. The public servant has someone to contact. It's not just some amorphous website where you don't know really who's submitting the request. You actually have a person on the other end who's demanding it and who's very aggressive in making sure that it gets done.
Let's shift gears a little bit, talking about another iPhone app. Justin, you gave the world Weed Maps.
Yes, that was me. Thanks.
For those who don't know what it is,
Sure.
What is it?
Weed Maps is a medical marijuana dispensary locator website. It's kind of like Yelp, if people are familiar with that. And it finds legal marijuana dispensaries in California, Colorado, Montana. There's a couple in Nevada, and more states, in New Jersey and Maine being the two newest states that are going to be adding dispensaries. So it's basically a web application and an iPhone application that lets you find the nearest dispensary and interact with other medical marijuana patients.
First, explain what happened recently in Los Angeles for those who don't know, and how will your app respond to that?
The Los Angeles City Council recently passed an ordinance that's going to limit the number of dispensaries in Los Angeles to essentially 70. And it's also going to put some, what I think is unfair restrictions on the zoning of those dispensaries. And so via the DIY Democracy iPhone app, you can just click a button and it sends off an email to your local LA City Council member asking them to repeal this initiative. So that's going to be a joint venture between Weed Maps and the Prometheus Institute.
And your guys' next big thing with Prometheus is an interesting project that incorporates the new iPad technology. Can you talk about that a little bit?
What we're trying to do is go inside the book. We're going to introduce social networking features, commenting features, and interactive digital video inside the book so that people can get to the features they want, share the features that they want, and really interact with the ideas in a way that's really unprecedented. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the libertarian classics, the ones that are out of IP protection currently, all the greats, Human Action, Road to Serfdom, etc., all those books that have so much more potential in this generation but need to be put in a medium, a format that people can identify with, people can share, people can understand.
So then someone cracks open the Road to Serfdom using your new technology. How would it be different for the user?
It's very rare that we think about the book in its entirety. So what we're going to do is use the technology so people can share specific bits of a book. So you can say, hey, Ted, check out this part of the Road to Serfdom that I loved. I think you'd like this too. What do you think? Let's talk about that. And I'll send you just to that part of the book, and let you interact with other things that I think are similar in that sense, and taking the ideas of the book, extracting them and letting that interact, and letting the ideas and how people react to the ideas interact in a totally new way.
For either of you guys, if you look 10 years into the future, what do you think, how do you think the book will change from a user perspective?
If we can harness the digital capabilities of the new iPad technology and similar technologies like that, I think it's going to revolutionize the book, and it's going to be more like a movie. It's going to be an immersive experience that you take part of. You're pushing, you're interacting with the book, you're playing with concepts, you're reading with other people at the same time. You go through a book, you're seeing what other people thought at that point in the book. It will be an experience unlike anything else.
Let me ask you guys a bigger question just about Mac in general, because I know you're both big Mac enthusiasts. If you strip away kind of the casual hipster attire of Steve Jobs, he's much more kind of the evil capitalist, I guess, to a lot of people. Why do progressives warm to a guy who's really, in a lot of ways, much more like Gordon Gekko than the Ben and Jerry's guys or something like that? Do you have any idea?
Steve Jobs is a philanthropist, and he's nowhere even close to Gordon Gekko, so I take umbrage to that. But actually, I think that's an interesting point. I think it has something to do with the fact that Mac kind of started as like a creative person's computer. It's always been really good for video editing, for photo editing. Those are kind of more right brain type of kind of liberal thinking type of jobs. So it kind of makes sense that artists would be kind of into Macs, and artists are typically more liberal.
I also look at it as Windows, going as a reaction to Windows. Windows has kind of been perceived as the white-collar, corporate America means of technology. And so in a sense of rebellion against that, I think a lot of progressives, liberals, I think they reacted to that and wanted to be something different, and so they just picked Apple because that was not Windows, not corporations. But now Apple's getting so much bigger that you see a lot of successful entrepreneurs using Apple products, and I think you're seeing a shift in that, at least in the ideology of people who are passionate about the products, because they can see that it can make you a lot of money too.
And I love Apple as well, but Steve Jobs does rule with an iron fist very famously. Yes. He forces people using his economic power to if you want an iPhone, you've got to use AT&T, even if you like Verizon, and yet people just take it.
Oh, Apple's always been that way. I mean, we dealt with it before we had issues with the App Store getting approval. The totalitarian nature of the Apple management is pretty much legendary. So for decades, they've been stealing people's ideas, and they'll implement them into Apple software and things like that. And we just watch them do that, and we still buy their products because we love them.
What do you see as the next big thing in terms of technology allowing for greater freedom?
Actually, we've been thinking about that a lot at Prometheus, and version 3 of the DIY Democracy iPhone application is going to have a concept of municipal auctions. Say there's a asphalt repavement project on La Cienega. So that project will be posted out by the government, and then private bidders can each post their bids, and everyone else can see each other's bids, so it's totally transparent.
When you think about what technology has done for government, or what technology has done for business everywhere else, you have the eBays, you have the Craigslist, you have the introduction of competition and choice into all these different sectors, and it's done so well, and it's revolutionized the way people access technology, resources, each other's knowledge, and everything. The last frontier there is government, especially government procurement and government activity. Those are the last areas where technology hasn't introduced competition and choice and market mechanisms, auctions, all of those kind of things that we see so much in technology. We're there on that last frontier, and DIY democracy is the way that we can do that. We can introduce market forces into the way that governments operate to bring them in a more competitive, more open fashion, and hopefully create a libertarian revolution at the local level. You can get what you want, you can get what you need.